Good morning. This is Lauren with Sail for Epilepsy. We are in Newport Harbor, which is a bit foggy this morning for the start of the Bermuda 1-2. Captain Phil Hayden is on the Sail for Epilepsy boat. He's getting ready for this solo 635-mile voyage to Bermuda. He's expecting him to take about 4 days and 22 hours. So we're looking at possibly a Tuesday arrival in Bermuda. Winds are going to be light as he approaches Bermuda for the last 48 hours. So we'll have to see which way the currents and the wind takes him. Remember, you can track his position updated hourly at sailforepilepsy.org/tracker. You'll notice we have a logo on our sail, Norellis. Norellis is our Admiralty level sponsor, so we're very happy for their support. They help us reach epilepsy communities all over the world. Speaking of epilepsy communities, you may notice on the hull that you can't really see it from this vantage point, but we've got some names on the hull, and those names are our virtual shipmates. They've all decided to take one more step to live a fuller life, and because of this, we've decided to bring them along virtually for our voyage. So we welcome all of them that are watching, and we thank you for joining us on this journey. So as you can see, it's pretty foggy out. It's a little wet. It's about maybe 50 degrees, but feels a little cooler. We're all pretty bundled up. We're happy to be expertly captained this morning by Doug on Newport Photo Boat. So we thank him and Marcia for coming out with us today and bouncing around in the fog. So this is Chickawas 3. Fred is in this blue boat here in the hull. This blue boat is in Phil's class. Phil's class is class 1. So there'll be a class of a little bit faster boats that are going to start at 11, and then Phil and Sail for Epilepsy will get underway at 11:10, crossing the start line. We've got Wild Eyes here ahead of us, and the Wild Eyes captain is Michael Miller, and his boat, Michael Millard. He's got a Quest 30. So that's an interesting boat because Phil's is a Quest 33. So as you might guess, Phil's boat is 33 feet long. This boat, Wild Eyes, is 30 feet long, and they'll be competing with each other all the way down to Bermuda. And then off our port bow is Alchemy. And that is David Southwell. He's a fellow Brit, just like Phil, and he'll also be competing in Phil's class. During the last race, he lost a rudder at sea and had to turn around and stop. Speaking of last time, Phil competed in 2019. He also had to turn around. He was fixing some things on board and ended up getting thrown across the boat, had some broken ribs. But in 2017, he finished 4th in the solo leg to Bermuda, and then he finished 3rd in the double-handed leg back to Newport, which means he finished 3rd overall. And his skipper for that race was Rudy Schreiber. Sounds like they could be getting ready for the actual start, which happens at 11. It's kind of tough to see what's going on since it's so foggy out here. All right. It's class 1. So the first class has gotten underway across the start line, and in 10 minutes, Phil will be getting ready to cross the start line as well. If you don't know about Phil, when he was 15, he was biking home from school when a drunken teenager threw a house brick that stuck him on the forehead. This accident caused Phil to develop epilepsy. He's fortunate that he is medically controlled, so he has not had a seizure in over 40 years. It was hard for him at first to get through school, but he managed to apply himself and is currently the head of neuroscience research department at Tufts University School of Medicine. We're fortunate that Tufts University School of Medicine is one of our project partners, so a portion of all of our donations that come into Sail for Epilepsy go directly to Tufts to support research into cures for epilepsy in the future. We've got Alchemy coming into view again. They're probably getting positioned to get across the start line. Who's 44? No, it's all right. Who's 44? We've got Young American coming up. This is a 105 with Peter Becker on board as skipper. Still pretty foggy out here, but there's a lot of spectators, and we believe there's about 22, 23 boats across all classes that are going to be starting. We've got 54 in the background. It's that white boat with the dragon on the hull, and that is skippered by Michael Hennessy. He has crossed the Atlantic in his class 40 and could be a favorite. Is going to be some stiff competition for Phil. Where is Phil? The boat that's kind of in the background there, it's got a blue hull and a red hull. That is the Spirit of Kiwi? Yeah. Spirit of Kiwi, and that boat was built to go around the world. I don't think it has actually done that, but it's an interesting looking boat nonetheless. We've got Kent Racing now off to our starboard side. That's Tim Kent, and he is also in a class 40. Yeah, I think that's him. Give me something else. So the Bermuda 1-2 is a solo, the first leg is a solo 635 mile journey to Bermuda. For the second leg, Phil is going to be joined by co-skipper Joe Cooper of Joe Cooper Racing. He is also a Sail for Epilepsy advisor. And Coop is a highly experienced professional sailor who first sailed with his dad at age 2 in Australia. Since those early beginnings, he has raced and sailed many oceans of the world, including sailing for the winning Australian team in the 1980s America's Cup. So Phil will be happy to have him on board as the double-handed skipper on the way back. If you're just joining us, I'm Lauren. I'm with Sail for Epilepsy, and we are at the start of the Bermuda 1-2 with Phil Hayden. He's coming to the foreground here. He is minutes away from starting this solo race, and when he sets sail, he's sailing for himself, but he's also sailing for all the virtual shipmates that we have on board, people with epilepsy that decide to take one more step to living a fuller life despite having epilepsy. Give me the epilepsy fact. Epilepsy fact. For those of you that might not know about epilepsy, some facts for you. 65 million people in the world have epilepsy. 3.4 people in the United States have epilepsy. And another little stat, 1 in 26 people in the United States will develop epilepsy at some point in their lifetime. So if you think of all your Facebook friends, 1 out of every 26 of those people have epilepsy. And as part of our partnership, we are partnered with Epilepsy Foundation New England. So they serve people in the New England area who have epilepsy. Their mission is to support the approximately 100,000 people in Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island affected by epilepsy and the people who care for them. Some of the programs that EF&E offers are camps for children and teens, youth programming, employment services, retreats for adults, scholarships, community education for children, and we're excited to partner with them. Phil held a virtual sailing camp with them last year, and while this camp was supposed to be in person, for obvious reasons it wasn't. And he had a wonderful time teaching about knots, teaching about sailing, teaching about the stars, and the kids all made little flags that we scanned and made it into a big flag that he'll be flying as he sails the oceans of the world. You'll see the Norellis logo on our mainsail. They are an Admiralty level sponsor. We're also fortunate to be sponsored in part by UCB, and we're grateful for their support. A portion of their support goes straight to our partners, Tufts University School of Medicine, as well as Epilepsy Foundation New England. Starting to get a lot more boats on the water as the start for each class is nearing. Here goes Phil getting one of his forward sails out. He was unsure if he was going to have the Solent or the jib out. He doesn't have any reefs in the main. That was another question for him today, whether he was going to reduce sail area by having only one reef in. But it looks like he's decided to keep the full main up for now. Winds were predicted to be about 9 knots, gusting to 16. It's certainly getting a little bit bouncier out here as we go along. The fog doesn't seem to be lifting at all either. He's getting positioned to be ready to cross the start line in just a few minutes. After he crosses the start, we're going to follow him down the bay for a little while, probably ending at a lighthouse that's just before the open ocean starts. All right, we're less than 1 minute from Phil's start. He's getting his sails trimmed, getting ready to go. Remember, if you want to follow the voyage, we'll be sending position updates every hour all the way to Bermuda. So you can visit our website at sailforepilepsy.org/tracker. You can also watch the entire fleet using a Yellow Brick app. Just go to Yellow Brick, download it, and look for the Bermuda 1-2 leg 1. Everybody's jockeying for position here. You can see the race committee boat here in blue. And I believe that is the start. Here he goes. Cross the line. We're going to follow him down a ways, down Narragansett Bay. He's obviously near some of the other boats in his class, Alchemy, Wild Eyes. The boats all have different ratings based on their class, their handicaps, their sails. So it's not all about when they cross the finish line. There'll be different time applied, and stay tuned for where he finishes in Bermuda. We're looking at perhaps 4 days and 22 hours was his last routing. Again, we wanted to thank all of our virtual shipmates who have joined Phil on this voyage. Phil is taking one more step to living a fuller life by sailing the oceans of the world. You can see just ahead of the Sail for Epilepsy logo on the bow that we've got a little bit of colored waves there, and there are 117 names of virtual shipmates that have all decided to take one more step towards living a fuller life. And we welcome them aboard to sail the oceans of the world with us. I see we've certainly got some virtual shipmates commenting. So welcome Benjamin from Texas. Thanks for coming aboard. I see Julia Fila is probably watching as well. Welcome aboard. Stay tuned during the race because we're going to feature some of our virtual shipmates while we're underway. So virtual shipmates that are featured will get a Sail for Epilepsy flag with the latitude and longitude from the noon position of the day that they were featured. And I see Hannah in North Carolina is with us. Thank you, Hannah, for coming aboard with us as we sail. Looks like virtual shipmates, Anthony's Nana is watching. She's in Narragansett Bay. We got Brandon. He's also on board. He's an epilepsy warrior. Welcome, Brandon. Thanks for coming with us. Again, if you're just joining us, I'm Lauren. I'm with Sail for Epilepsy, and we're following Phil Hayden as he races to Bermuda. This is a 635-mile solo voyage. Once he gets to Bermuda, he's going to take a little bit of a break, and then he'll be joined by co-skipper Joe Cooper, who has previously sailed in the America's Cup and is a highly experienced sailor. So we'll be rooting for both of them on the way back. Elizabeth, I hope that you can see us too. Thanks for watching us and cheering us on from afar. It is a bit foggy, so not sure if you're going to be able to see us. It looks like right now Phil's all alone, but there's plenty of boats out here with us. Yes, and we also sail in the memory of loved ones who have passed away as a result of epilepsy. So Diane's grandson Eric is on our hull with us, and we sail in his memory to honor him. Welcome aboard, Eric, and also Diane. Thanks for submitting his name. So this is a bit of a test run for Sail for Epilepsy. It's a preview of an upcoming global voyage that will start later this summer. So leg one is going to be an East Coast expedition. We'll be visiting ports in Portland, Maine, Boston, Massachusetts, Newport, Rhode Island, where we are right now, down to Philadelphia. We'll also be welcoming people from New Jersey at that location, and then all the way down to Annapolis. And we're looking forward to these port stops. We're going to have activities in the afternoon for families in the area. There'll be knot tying lessons. You'll learn about the stars. You'll be able to make a flag, meet Phil, check out the boat, take some pictures. And then in the evening, we're planning to hold some events to meet other members of the epilepsy community in the area. And exciting, you can also follow Phil as he's sailing from these ports. He sends in videos, blogs, photos, and we're also going to be connecting live via WhatsApp with people with epilepsy while he's underway offshore. We have a Thales VesselLink satellite system that uses Iridium satellites, and while we can't stream Netflix on board, he'll be able to talk with people, hear about their story, hear about their journey with epilepsy, and tell them a little bit about his own. Hi, Susan from Epilepsy Foundation New England. Thanks for joining us on this voyage and for being a project partner with us. Phil's tacking, so we're just getting out of the way. I know early on his plan was going to be hugging a shore to be out of some stronger currents as he headed out of the bay, so that might be where we're going, but it's tough to tell. Now, this 635-mile voyage will be sailed solo. And along the way, Phil takes definite safety precautions. He makes sure to monitor his sleep. Sleep deprivation can be negative for a person with epilepsy. He also manages to stay hydrated. We have a checklist on board for things he does, and he also has on that checklist to take his medication at regular intervals. He wears a life jacket while he's on board, and he also clips in via tether. We're using WhatsApp for the first time, which is it's a great tool because it doesn't use up a lot of data. He's able to contact a shore team at any time he needs us. We have a medical consult on the shore team if Phil needs to get in touch with us, and he's able to connect us in with the Tufts University School of Medicine folks. He can also contact us if he's having any difficulty with equipment on board. We cannot advise him about weather or routing, and that's all up to him. So Phil will be sleeping about 20 minutes at a time. He's done a lot of sleep training, and he'll wake himself up just to check on his routing while he's underway. He's got a variety of equipment to keep him up to date on where he is. He takes an iPad and can always be checking in on his position and then going right back to sleep. You'll notice on the sail that we have the logo for Norellis. Norellis is an Admiralty level sponsor, which means they've signed on to be a premier sponsor with us, and they'll be joining us for the entire 4-year global voyage. We're also sponsored in part by UCB, and we thank both of these sponsors for their support. Be sure to watch our social media channels on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We also started a TikTok channel recently. We're going to be experimenting with that. You can send us questions you might have along the way, and we can try to get them answered. You can also send us suggestions. If you'd like to see a video of something, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about anything that's been going on board, just comment on any of the social media posts. Send us a question to info@sailforepilepsy.org, and we'll try to get that question answered. Again, we want to welcome all of our virtual shipmates who are sailing with us today. Each of the 117 names that are labeled on our hull are people that are affected by epilepsy, whether it's personally have epilepsy, a family member, a caregiver, and they have all decided to take one more step towards living a fuller life. Phil's one more step is to sail the oceans of the world, but we're so excited to hear about some of the other steps people are taking, whether it be to walk, to bike, to learn a new skill, to do some gardening, to go back to school, to be an advocate for epilepsy, to raise awareness about epilepsy. Really, all of us can do something to live a fuller life. So we encourage everyone to join the One More Step Challenge. You can learn more about this by going to our website, sailforepilepsy.org/OMS for One More Step. If you're looking on board here, you can see off the stern is a life raft. If in an emergency, Phil will be able to access that. You can see our sails satellite unit is sort of that circular disc. He's got some yellow cans of fuel strapped to the stern. He doesn't use his engine during the race for power, but he could use it to charge different things on board. He's got an autopilot that helps him, so when he's sleeping, the boat can take care of herself. You'll also notice some solar panels on deck. Those are a recent addition, and they help charge the batteries as well, reducing the amount of fuel that is necessary. He looks like he's having fun.
Not yet.
We're hoping the conditions are a little bit better once he gets to Bermuda. It's pretty cold. He's going to be pretty cold through Sunday, but once he gets across the Gulf Stream, the water temperature can rise anywhere from 50 degrees up to 80 degrees, and it could be stormy, but then things will be getting warmer as he heads down to Bermuda. Winds are predicted to be about 9 knots today, gusting up to 16, but once he gets down to Bermuda, it's going to be lighter winds. We've got another big boat off the stern here coming along. This is Spirit of Kiwi. This boat was built to sail around the world. She is in a different class than Phil and started before he did. Pretty foggy out here, not a lot of visibility. It's damp, feels a little colder than it is. Luckily though, it's not raining. Phil's expecting to go through some rain showers tonight as he gets down southeast of Nantucket. There's a big band of rain that's going to be coming through. You can see some other boats around us. It's tough to see who they are though, just peeking out of the fog. There's other classes of boats that have started back where we came from. So in a while they'll all separate out. You can continue to watch Phil's progress by visiting our boat tracker on our website. It gets updated every hour. You can find that at sailforepilepsy.org/tracker. You can also watch all of the participants in the race. This is done with a Yellow Brick tracker, so you can go to Yellow Brick app or visit their website and get an idea of Phil's position in relationship to everybody else. Phil's sailing here on Cepheus, which is a Quest 33S. So she's 33 feet long. She has a draft of 7 feet and a beam about 11 feet, which is the width of the boat. Down below is pretty sparse. He's got a jet boil stove where he'll be heating water and adding it to freeze-dried food as his primary meal. He's got some snacks on board from Britain. I believe Curly Whirlies are a favorite, as are crisps. We call them chips here in the United States. There is a head on board that he can use. There's no real bed, but he's got a few bunks that he's rigged up to tilt. So when the boat's heeled over or it's on its side, on its edge, he can tilt the bunk and keep himself in place and get a nap in. Sometimes he puts the sails on deck as well and just sacks out on those. This allows him to keep an eye on the instruments There are those black rectangles that are right in front of him. Those are his chart plotters. He can keep an eye on where he is and where his next sail change would be. You can get another view of some of our virtual shipmates, which is here on the port bow, just in front of the Sail for Epilepsy logo. There's 117 names of virtual shipmates that are sailing the oceans of the world with Phil. They've all decided to take one more step towards living a fuller life, much like Phil is doing to sail the oceans of the world. But anyone can do something to take one more step. Some of our one more steppers are walking, running, biking, raising awareness about epilepsy. Some people are deciding to continue education. Some people are learning a skill like learning how to play the drums or how to play the piano. And we're really excited for all these virtual shipmates to join us. You can still sign up to take one more step. You can visit our website at sailforepilepsy.org/OMS. You can see we're getting a little bit close to land, but luckily along this way the water is deep. It just has to be 7 feet at low tide to be safe for Phil to be here. And his plan was to come over here because he can stay out of the current, which would be fighting against him. And so he's going to hug the shoreline, although he's going to turn a little bit now. And this is his plan for heading down out of Narragansett Bay into the open ocean. Thanks to everybody that's watching, and we hope that some of our virtual shipmates are watching. You can also follow on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, which we're going to try to learn how to use. And you can send us questions by commenting on social media. You can send us questions to info@sailforepilepsy.org. We'll try to get Phil to answer them. You can also read his blogs that he's going to try to send in once a day. He's going to post some videos, he's going to post some photos. He's also going to connect live with people with epilepsy while he's underway. We're going to use WhatsApp for video calls. These will be short because, as you can imagine, it costs some data for us to be connecting while he's way offshore. But this is very exciting and rewarding for him to be able to connect with people with epilepsy, hear their story, share a little bit of his own, and hopefully provide some inspiration. He may have epilepsy, but he is still continuing to live his fullest life possible. Phil's fortunate that his epilepsy is medically controlled. As many as 1/3 of people with epilepsy do not have medical control. So we're proud that a portion of all of our donations go towards Tufts University School of Medicine in the hopes that further research can provide a cure. Sarah, thanks you for your question. We're about halfway out to Bonnet Point at this point. Phil's decided to leave up his full mainsail. If the winds had been a little bit lighter, he was going to put a reef in the main, which means you make the size of the mainsail smaller. This reduces your speed and makes it a little bit safer. You want to go fast with your sailing, but you also want to go safely. There's a certain point where if you're going too fast, getting too many gusts, you can break the boat, you can break the skipper. So he's constantly monitoring the winds, the weather, the predictions. He downloads weather files at least 4 times a day to keep an eye on changing winds, and then plans his sails for those conditions. If anybody has any questions for us, feel free to put them in the chat, keeping an eye on it as we're following Phil Hayden and Sail for Epilepsy down Narragansett Bay on the start of the Bermuda 1-2. Seems like he's a little warm. He's been doing a lot of activity. When you're the only sailor on board, you're the one that has to do all the work. Says he's got a goal of getting some curly whirlies in 2 hours for a snack. I think he'll have burned all the calories necessary for that. For anyone in the UK, you probably know what a curly whirly is. I believe it is a caramel with some chocolate on it. Eddie, you can let us know if you've had any curly whirlies lately while you've been doing your sail in Scotland. Still pretty foggy out. Doesn't look like we're heading for anything. There's a few other boats out here, so we're trying to keep an eye on them as they're trying to get out into the open ocean. You can hear the fog whistle on one of the lighthouses in the area in the background. This is typical New England weather this time of year. Usually pretty foggy for June, and then things get nice and sunny in July. We're lucky it's not raining on us. Phil's going to be experiencing some rain the further out to sea that he gets. He's going to be going through a band of showers southeast of Nantucket. He's looking forward to the warmer temperatures 635 miles away in Bermuda. If you're just joining us, it's solo to Bermuda. He's going to take a little break, and then Sail for Epilepsy advisor Joe Cooper, who is a former Australian America's Cup racer, will be joining him for the return leg, Bermuda to Newport. That departs Bermuda on June 17th. We won't be live from Bermuda, but Phil will continue to send in blogs, photos, and videos as he sails back home. Get a better view now on the hull of some of our virtual shipmates who have all decided to take one more step towards living a fuller life. Thank you so much for joining us on this virtual journey. Please do let us know, how is your one more step challenge going? Are you walking that 1 mile a day? Are you learning that new skill? Have you started to tell your friends about epilepsy so that anyone can just learn a little bit more about it? 1 in 26 people in the world have epilepsy. So you just think about that for a minute. Look at all your Facebook friends. 1 in 26 of them have epilepsy. Something that's not talked about very often. A lot of people think that epilepsy is what's shown in the movies, that it's a seizure where someone falls to the ground, may lose consciousness, and their body convulses. However, there's many types of seizures. Some can be what's called absence, where the person just sort of pauses. People can have partial seizures, and they can come from a wide range of reasons. Someone can have epilepsy because of a genetic issue, because of something with their genes, because they've experienced a head injury like Phil. It can be something that's caused by a stroke. And one of the reasons that only 1/3 of people are medically controlled is because there's so many different causes for epilepsy and they're not all understood. Still learning how the brain works. And our hope is that by partnering with Tufts University School of Medicine, we will support their research into cures for epilepsy. Starting to get a little bouncy out here. We're starting to get a little water on us, but hopefully the screen isn't too wet. Do a little wipe, make sure there's no water on it, and we'll start again. Sarah, thanks for mentioning that sometimes children with epilepsy are often uncontrolled because of growth spurts and the need for medication changes. That's often a big challenge. Someone can find a medication that works, but it may take weeks, months, years to find the right dosage that works for them. It took Phil about 4 years to get his epilepsy medically controlled. He's fortunate that he hasn't had a seizure in 40 years, but it was certainly challenging for him as that process was happening. He can still remember what it's like to have a seizure, and there's not a week that goes by that he doesn't think about the possibility of having a seizure. Still pretty foggy out here. As we're getting closer to the open ocean, we're getting a little bit more wave action. Looks like Phil's getting hot. He's taking off a layer. He's out there. He's the only one on board, so he's hauling all the lines, making all the decisions, keeping track of the boat. He does a boat check every day at dawn and every day at dusk. Does a walk around, make sure all the lines are looking good, nothing's chafed, nothing's overboard, sails are secured. He checks the battery levels, they're charged, make sure all of his devices are charged, make sure that the fuel that's tied to the back there, those yellow cans, are secured. We'll check in via the satellite system to make sure that all the comms are working. He also makes sure to monitor his sleep, he monitors his food, he monitors his water intake to make sure he doesn't get too dehydrated, and he also has a checklist which includes taking his medication at a regular time every day. You'll see on our mainsail, the big sail here, we've got Norellis. They are an Admiralty level sponsor, which means they have decided to support our mission and will be joining us for the global voyage as Phil sets sail to sail the oceans of the world. We're going to be starting that at the middle of August with a series of port stops along the east coast of the United States. We'll be visiting Portland, Maine, Boston, Massachusetts, Newport, Rhode Island, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as Annapolis, Maryland. We hope that if you're at any of one of those ports, you can come for either the family event that's going to be happening in the afternoon, where there'll be knot tying lessons, talking about stars, be able to make a flag that we will scan all the flags and make one big flag that Phil will sail around the world. Okay. Well, we've reached the end of our voyage with Phil. We can say bon voyage to Phil and wish him well. We'll be following on board. Good luck. Remember, you can follow along on the whole journey at sailforepilepsy.org/tracker. Thanks for joining this morning, and please check out our website to learn more and stay up to date on everything that's happening.